This ghost story speaks to the Merchant House ghost. This is a ghost that presides in New York City at the time that a fashionable architect known as John McComb had an influence on the look of the city. The houses he designed were built on property located near the property of John Jacob Astor, who, although rich, was considered somewhat socially uncouth by his contemporaries. It was thought that homes located in that area be attractive to buyers, and they were. The houses built were called brown houses because of the dark brick material of their facades, and the houses were well appointed and solid. There is only one house left now, which was built in 1830, and it is the haunted house. It was purchased by a merchant known as Seabury Treadwell, who made his money in the sale of hardware. The house had 7 levels, consisting of 3 stories, an attic, 2 cellars, with a garden around the house. On the 2nd floor were 2 large bedrooms. On the 3rd floor was situated a curator's apartment, which in earlier times served as the servants' quarter. The servants were also housed in a basement apartment. There strangely is a secret passage from a trapdoor near the bedrooms to the East River. Mr. Treadwell and his wife had 3 married daughters, and 3 more still at home, and Mr. T ruled the family with an iron, sexually frustrated hand. One of the daughters, Sarah, was a free spirit who had discovered the secret passage and used it to meet with her young man, and in time she became pregnant. Sarah, distraught and fearing her father would stop her seeing the young man, but the damage was done. Eventually Mr. T became aware of the pregnancy, and hell broke loose, especially when Mr. T found that an elderly black servant had served as the go-between. Amazingly, the black servant was retained. When the baby was born, it appears that it was killed, and the black servant threw it in the river. When Sarah found out, she went mad for a period of time and took herself to the river, where she died of exposure. Her death was reported as a carriage accident, and she was buried in the family plot. The youngest daughter, Gertrude, met a young man and introduced him to the family, and even though he was studying to be a doctor, Mr. T denounced him as a fortune hunter. The young man left, and Gertrude never had another suitor. Mr. T died in 1865, and the 2 surviving sisters, Gertrude and Phoebe, lived as recluses in the house, only venturing out at night. Phoebe died, and Gertrude was left alone in the house until she died at the age of 93 in 1933. By this time it was no longer a safe neighborhood, and the house falling into a state of disrepair. The city took over the building and made it into a museum. A museum worker noticed a spirit of a woman on the stairs who was wearing old-fashioned clothes, and then the apparition faded. All Gertrude's things were still in the house and had to be catalogued for the museum, and often those doing the cataloguing felt a presence brush by them. It was accepted that the ghost of Gertrude still inhabited the house, but in the form of when she was younger, not how she looked at her death at the age of 93. It was also accepted that it was a friendly spirit who sometimes revealed her presence with a perfume scent. When the museum had returned the house to its former glory, the ghost of Gertrude ceased to appear as the Merchant House ghost. Thank you. That's the end.